97% of Americans think that everyone needs a budget, and yet 65% don't even know how much they spent last month. Well, today we are going to change that. Hey there, I'm Brittany Flammer with videos here about budgeting and money saving tips. If you would like to be able to afford to live a life you love, then make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you don't miss any videos. We want to keep it simple, so I've got 5 easy to follow steps for you and 1 mega tip for sticking to your budget.
Step number 1 for starting a budget.
Why? Why do you want a budget? Why do you want to stick to your budget? You have got to have a reason. Is it for paying off debt, buying a new car, going on vacation? You have to have a reason, and it's got to be a good one. It's got to be strong enough to motivate you month to month, day to day, to stick to your budget. And if possible, put a picture of it up where you'll see it regularly. For years, we were saving for a down payment for a house. So I printed out a chart with a picture of a house. I posted it up in our cupboard in our kitchen so that every time I opened up that cupboard door, I would see that picture, see that chart. It would remind me, this is what I'm saving for. This is why I'm not buying other things. So you need to figure out what your reason is and make sure it's a good one.
Step number 2 for starting a budget.
You want to figure out your past spending. Now, this is the longest part in the process, and it's probably the most important, so you have to make sure you do it. I want you to get online, print out your bank statements and credit card statements, every single credit card statement. And I don't want you to just print out the last month, I want you to print out the last 3 months. And yes, you really need to do 3 months. 1 month is a great starting place, but 3 months will give you a much bigger picture because there's more likely to be irregular expenses like someone's birthday or a holiday or something breaking down on your car. It gives you a much better idea of what your average spending is month to month. You can hop online. Many banks or credit card statements will let you print straight from them. Sometimes you might have to download an Excel file and then print it. Once you've got them all printed out, I want you to clear off a desk or table, a quiet spot where you can sit down without distractions for a few minutes. I want you to grab several different colored highlighters, or if you're like us and your kids have played with the highlighters, left the lids off and they're all dried out, you can just grab some markers or colored pencils or crayons or pens. Anything will work as long as you have a bunch of different colors. We are going to go through every single expense and we're going to group similar expenses together and highlight them with one color. So I'm going to start with one color. I'm going to start with pink. That's going to be our housing and utilities expenses. So I'm going to go through every single item on these sheets I printed out and highlight in pink every single one that's related to our mortgage or any of our utilities. And then I'm going to grab a different color and go through and highlight all of the expenses under a different category. Now, everyone's going to have a little bit different categories. Everyone's going to have a little bit different expenses because we all spend our money differently, and that's okay. But to give you an idea of what it looks like for us, I'll share with you our colors and categories. First, I started with pink. That was our housing, mortgage, utilities, all those fixed expenses. Then I went on to yellow, which was all consumables, groceries, bathroom supplies, cleaning supplies, basically anything you can buy at the grocery store or Sam's. Those red was gas or car expenses. Blue was household expenses. For us, we just bought a house and we are renovating and doing a lot. So we've had lots of Home Depot and Lowe's trips. So any of those expenses I put under blue. You might not have those and that's okay. Purple was all of our kids stuff like extracurriculars or clothing for the kids. Light purple was gift money. Orange was some work expenses we had to pay for and then we'll get reimbursed for. Brown was eating out. And then it's okay to have a miscellaneous expense. You just want to make sure it doesn't get too big. Now, this is by far the longest and most time-consuming part of this process, and I don't want you to get discouraged. It does not have to be perfect. You're just trying to get a general idea of how much you spend. Like I said, your categories might look different. You might have more, you might have less. It's okay. You just want a general overall picture. Just keep in mind, the more categories you have, the more colors you're going to need, the more complicated it gets. Try not to make it too complicated. Try to keep it simple. Don't stress about it. It does not have to be perfect. You're just trying to get an overall general idea of your spending.
Step number 3 for starting your budget.
We want to total all of your expenses. It doesn't matter if you go old school and want to do it on paper, grab one sheet of paper and list out every expense for that category. Do a different sheet of paper for every single category. Or if you want to do it on the computer, Google Sheets, Excel, whatever, that's fine. List every category separately and add them all up. Once you've added up each category, divide it by 3. Since we figured out the past 3 months of spending, we're going to divide it by 3 to get an average for the month. Now, be prepared to be shocked. This might hurt a little bit. It is amazing how quickly those $5 and $10, $15 purchases add up. But that's okay. Now we have an idea of how you're spending each month in these categories.
Step number 4 for starting your budget.
We want to figure out your income. Figure out how much money you make every month. Now, you might be laughing because that should be pretty straightforward. And if you're paid with a salary, then it is pretty straightforward. You know every month exactly how much you're going to make. However, if you're like most of us, you don't have a fixed income every month. So you have to figure out how much you make on an average month. If you get paid weekly, multiply it by 4. If you get paid every 2 weeks, multiply it by 2. If you have a very inconsistent income, look at the past and get an average of what you normally spend. We are just getting an average monthly income.
Now on to step number 5.
Done all the hard work, now we are just going to figure out your budget. Our goal is for you to take that income you just figured out, subtract those average expenses you figured out, and end up with 0. It's called a zero-based budget. Our goal is for you to be telling your money where it should go, not for your money to just be flying all over the place. Say your income's $4,000, you subtract all those expenses, which added up to $3,500. That means you're left with $500 a month. So you can decide what to do. If you have debt, it goes towards debt, or it can go towards retirement or savings for a vacation, a house, whatever you're saving for. You plan that in advance. But if you're like most of us, you have the exact opposite problem. Say your income's $4,000, your expenses added up to $4,500. That means you're negative $500. What are you supposed to do? Well, take a look at each of those expense categories that you came up with. Take a look, go through them, see if there are places where you can reduce them a little bit here and there. Many people just want to slash those numbers drastically, and that's a great idea. However, if you are going to make drastic changes, you're most likely not going to stick to it long term. My suggestion is to look at each of those categories and see where you can take small, little incremental steps to spending less. If you need money saving ideas on everyday stuff, simple, easy tips, check out my link in the description box. I have a free printable checklist for ways that you can save thousands. It's just the small, everyday spending habits that add up. The biggest tip for sticking to your budget every single month is to use an envelope. Now, I'm not talking about a complicated envelope system. I'm talking about one simple envelope for the month. Here's my envelope for this month. It's one envelope that's really simple and it helps me stick to my budget. I have got a video linked up there and I'll have it playing at the end of this video showing you how I use one envelope to stick to my budget every single month. It's really simple and it's really effective. So check the description box down below for my free printable list on easy, simple money saving ideas. And check out my video playing right there on how you can use this envelope system to simplify and stick to your budget.